Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I just finished this morning actually. I filmed this getting ready with me and I have been rained on because it's raining in San Francisco. And of course I had to go get my liquid crack. I'm going to leave some markers in the description box below where you can jump ahead to different parts of the face because you know I'm long-winded and I tend to talk a lot. Again, limited time to film, so when I'm putting out videos I want them to have information in them. I'm going to go through and show you my favorite brushes. I'm also going to show you some different price comparisons. On the side of the screen, I'm going to leave a running tally to show you if I had to pick my favorite brushes, how much those would be. And these brushes will last you years and years and years. So if I had to save up, you know, $25 to buy one brush opposed to buying two shit brushes, I'd rather have this one brush that's going to last me years opposed to one that I'll wash a few times, the hair will fall out, or they'll be really scratchy and uncomfortable or not perform the way I want them to, lose their shape, all of that stuff that you guys know sucks. I'm a firm believer in quality over quantity. I would rather have something that I love than three things I feel bleh about. And I wasn't always like that. When I was younger, I would go even just shopping. I'd be like, oh my God, I want 16 pairs of shoes from, I don't know, just any random name store. And I would buy these less expensive shoes, which again, there's nothing wrong with them, but they would be like these crazy heels and my feet would start killing me and the heel would break or something. Now the way I am is that I would rather save up, and instead of buying 6 pairs of shoes that I don't really love, I'd rather buy one pair of really well-crafted shoes that I love that I can wear every day for work and I'm not gonna break my neck in. I've said it before in a video in the Wayne Goss review, I will link that below. How you apply your makeup is a very personal preference. Brushes that I have that I love, again, I've seen other people that I respect and admire and they don't care for those brush shapes. So I'm just going to tell you the ones that I like, and I'll give you a few different options if you prefer to apply your makeup in a different way that are still really well-made brushes. I'm going to do this in grouping of makeup applications. So first let's start with face. Okay, I have dry skin. If I use a brush every day on my skin, I mean, my skin is more normal now with my skincare that I do, but if before, when I have dry patches on my face, if I use a brush and you're buffing, that causes a micro exfoliation on your face where you're actually kind of like, think about it, like even these are super soft, you're kind of like sandpapering and agitating those little dry spots up on your skin so it can lift the makeup off. My ideal way to put foundation on is always with a sponge. It helps give me that luminous finish. I just love that. So for dry skin, I don't think I've ever found anything that beats a beauty blender. I have other less expensive makeup sponges. I like the give that this one has on it better. I've actually probably been using this one. If you gently clean them, I have a whole video on that, I'll link below. If you gently clean that, it is important that when you get some soap, I like bar soap on here, just run it real quick under the water like that and work your thumb in and it'll literally push that makeup right out with the soap in there. Love these. So when I apply my foundation though, I like to paint it on. So any kind of flat foundation brush. You'll see in the tutorial for this, I like to paint it on to get it where I want it. And then I'll go through with the damp beauty blender and blend that in. I do love this. It Cosmetics makes some of my favorite synthetic brushes. I got this in a gift set, so I don't know if they sell it individually, but I will link it below if I can find it. Synthetics typically are best with cream products because just like your natural hair that will soak up, like if you were to put hair products in your hair, the same thing holds true for a natural hair brush. So typically natural hair brushes will make cream products go on streaky. So always stick to synthetic. These are my must-haves with foundation for me. Now if I'm doing my spray foundation where I'm kind of stippling it on and gently buffing, I love this It Cosmetics, this flat top kabuki brush. It's the softest thing ever. I got that Sigma brushes like years ago. I got the Jaclyn Hill favorites and I did not like that brush. I know a lot of people love that Sigma brush. I found it to be kind of scratchy on my face and I don't know, it kind of left it streaky and that's just for me. So I didn't prefer that. These It Cosmetic brushes are the softest brushes you will ever put on your face. This is nice and dense. Nothing sinks down all the way in there. I really love this brush. So if you're a brush person, I would definitely get something like this. I have been testing this Tartiest brush. This is the Oval 7. Now, while I'll say this brush is, I mean, good at putting this on, if you have this, you don't need this. If you have any kind of flat top brush like this, because that's what this essentially is. It's a dense, flat brush. You don't need this. Now, if you don't have any of these brushes and you think that this looks interesting, this does put on your makeup. It's a little different that you have to get used to putting it on like this. But I mean, this does apply and it does it fairly quickly. Is it earth-shattering? No. Have I used it in the past 2 weeks? No. But it's a well-made brush. I don't see it like, it's not losing hair. It is very soft, very dense. I see that they have a few larger sizes. Again, this is a 7. I can't think that I'd want much bigger. I know they have like an 8 and a 9, but I do enjoy this. I've seen people like try to contour with it and stuff. I would only use this for liquid products or creams. Now, I want to give this as an honorable mention. If I had oily skin, I would always use a synthetic. I wouldn't even use a Beauty Blender sponge. Personally, I would use a brush. Also important, in my opinion, for oily skin, acne-prone skin, to use a brush, a synthetic brush that you can constantly disinfect and it's not going to ruin it like a natural hair or duo fiber brush would. Just because you're going to be spreading that bacteria all over your face. So if you have an open breakout on your face and you go over it with your brush and then you keep on going, you spread it all over your face. So it's a good idea to make sure that you properly cleanse your brush each time. These Real Technique brushes, I love these brushes. I really love them. I'm yet to say anything negative about them. They don't shed, they're excellent quality. This Expert Face brush I use to apply all of my BB and CC creams. I really like this brush and they're really affordable. If you are on a budget, I don't hesitate to recommend any of these Real Techniques brushes. Now, powder foundations. My favorite for a powder, like if I'm just going all over, is this It Cosmetics. This is the dual-ended brush. This end you can use for concealer, and I actually, if I have a spot, I'll go over it with the powder just there. But I love this for, I do use this every single day for my nose, but it's so soft and it's good to just buff that powder into your face. And now a more affordable option as well is the Real Techniques buffing brush. I think this is excellent for mineral foundation as well. I prefer smaller brush heads like this for a more controlled application, so you can see it in comparison next to my face. This is a great brush. Now let's move on to concealer. You guys see in my videos, I like to use the Becca Under Eye, that color brightener and corrector. I actually love this e.l.f. Flawless Concealer brush. It picks up the perfect amount of product. It doesn't shed. I mean, it's a sturdy brush and it was very, very inexpensive. So I really like this brush. I haven't tried other e.l.f. brushes, so I can't speak to them. But after this one worked out so well, I think I'll try a few more. Now, if I'm using my MAC Pro Longwear Concealer or a concealer that I have to pump out that's liquidy, I love this brush. This isn't the MAC version. This is a Beauty Addict's brush, but MAC does make one like this that I will link. I like it because I'll dip it in the foundation as this duo fiber and I'll paint it where I want it and then I can go in and blend it in. If you didn't want the e.l.f. brush, this Sephora Studio Pro Airbrush Concealer number 57 is the same idea. It's actually, you know, I don't reach for this one though. When I'm using that, I actually prefer the give on these bristles better. But if I'm spot concealing, I will use something like this just to kind of blend it in. I find the Sephora Pro brushes very well made. Now again, I feel like my Beauty Blender is a dry girl's best friend especially. I use this to blend out my under eye concealer as well, but if it's something really liquidy, I love this MAC 159 brush for just kind of patting it in to kind of disperse the product, and then I go in with this to pick up the excess. Because sometimes if I draw it on and then I just go straight on with this, it almost like absorbs in there and I can have patchiness, if that makes sense. So I love this brush. It fits perfectly and it does a great job. This is a duo fiber brush. Now again, an honorable mention is this Sephora number 75 brush. Again, these brushes aren't inexpensive though. If you like to be able to go in and feel a lot of these brushes too, I think this is great for patting out under eye concealer because it's flat and angled. I really like this brush too. Next is blush application. These two are my all-time favorite blush brushes. This one is the MAC 129 short handle. The reason I love this brush is because of the short handle too, and this kind of flat paddle. I like it because I can hold it in my hand and flick my wrist and get really good blending. I love this brush. They have one with a normal long handle. I don't like it as much. And then this is the Wayne Goss number 14 brush. Now, at first I didn't think I would like this for blush because it's so long, but this is amazing because I tend to go heavy-handed with my blush. So this, I can just pick some up, or especially really pigmented blushes, and just really get that on the apples of my cheek and not go in too heavy. So with pigmented blushes, this brush is amazing. And if you do like to bake, this is great at flicking the powder away. I find baking really cakey on my dry skin, and in general when I see people in public that do it, it's like I can tell that they have like an inch of powder on their face. Again, that's just my personal opinion on it. Now, if I have a really sheer blush and I want to really pack on that color, I'll likely use this MAC 129 or this Wayne Goss number 11 brush. This has the same idea as the MAC 129, except it's a little smaller and a little more dense and a whole lot more soft. This is Goat, and I can just pat it. That's what I do. I touch it on my cheeks like this because it is so dense. It's not going to give you like a huge swirly. I just find it works best to pat and drag back. Okay, now let's talk about powder. This is the only brush I have that was ridiculously expensive, and this is not a necessity. It's a necessity for me. I love these handcrafted Japanese brushes. I just find them beautiful. They're so soft. This is my Shikihodo Z1 brush. This is the best powder brush I've ever used. I pick up powder with it and I stamp it like this on my face. It doesn't disturb my makeup. It does an excellent job of picking up product and laying the product back down on my face without giving me like weird patchiness. I think this brush was $178. So again, if you want to treat yourself, this is an excellent, well-made, handcrafted brush. I love this brush. For those of you that prefer a synthetic brush and something a lot less cheap, like a third of the price, a fourth of the price, I would pick up the It Cosmetics. This is the Jumbo Powder Face Brush. This brush is huge, if you can see. For those of you with oily skin, this is amazing to set your whole face. You get powder all over, and it's so soft, and again, synthetic, so you can wash it as many times as you want and you're not gonna dry out the hair really. If you prefer a brush that's smaller to this, this is the ball wand brush from It Cosmetics, and it's tapered. It has this little point and you can do more controlled applications, but it's really soft again. I mean, again, the softest synthetic brushes you will ever use. Two more honorable mentions is the Sephora 55 brush. I love this brush, again, for if you're just setting your face in certain areas, or the Real Techniques multitasking face brush. Again, an excellent made brush. It doesn't shed, it's very soft, it picks up product well. And all their brushes are color coordinated. So they have orange are the face brushes, they have the purple, that's the eye, and the pink, I believe, are the multitasking or powder. Let's talk about setting under your eyes. So I bought that Sigma F35 brush that I had heard everyone talk about, and I didn't like it. It was very narrow. Mine never really opened up like I was expecting it to. It just didn't perform how I wanted. I didn't like that. This Wayne Goss number 2 brush is everything I hoped that brush would be. I wanted something that was a small size that fits perfectly under my eye. This is so soft. It fits perfectly underneath my eye. I use this every day to set. I have 2 of these. I really, really enjoy this brush. Next, let's talk about contour. So I prefer to do a cream contour and then set with powder. My number 1 cream contour brush is this Inglot 20T brush. It's this angled little paintbrush kind of. I like it that I will go on and draw the contour on, and then I use the other side and I flick it up. Gives me a very controlled application without going overboard. Inglot makes some very well-made brushes that are very cost-effective as well. And I will go on with my second favorite use for this Wayne Goss number 15 brush. This is my all-time favorite brush on the planet. I love it. So much I have 2. This one, I pick up the contour powder and I set what I did, and it doesn't give me like a bam harsh line like that. Like the NARS Eater brush that I got, it would give me like this stripe of powder on my face, and I mean, I remember everybody used that, now I never see it anymore. It's funny how things go in waves. But of course I fell into that and I bought it, and I really don't care for it. Now, if you like a stronger contour, these are two excellent options as well. This is the Goss number 12 brush. This is more of like a square oval paddle brush, and it really can fit in here. The only thing I find is that if you have a really luminous foundation on that tends to stay a tad tacky, this will feel like it can kind of move it around a little if you don't set it with powder first, because it is so dense. But the shape of this end, it's well made, very soft. The other one would be the Sephora 56 brush, the Pro. This fits very well too in those cheekbones, but the same holds true for this brush, is that it is so dense. If you have a luminous foundation on and you haven't set it with a powder, this can make it feel like it almost disturb your foundation. So that's why, again, I prefer this fan brush. It goes on very gently, doesn't give me really harsh lines. Your powder brushes can also be used for bronzer. I know everybody I remember back in the day, not everybody used to put bronzer on every day. I never wear bronzer. Never really. I mean, rarely will I, depending on the look I'm going for. Because I'm so white, no one's gonna believe that I'm tan, just on the top of my white ass cheekbones. No. Highlight. Back to this brush. I have two of these because I bought one in the anniversary set, and then I got one just on its own. I love this brush for highlighting. I used it today. It gives the most natural, if it's a powdered loose highlight, I brush it down like this so I don't get fallout everywhere, and if it's pressed, I just kind of go like this. But you can use this to just go all the way around your face. It's so soft. This brush is like highlighting for dummies. It's really impossible to mess it up with this brush. I love it. One of the brushes that if I use my Chanel Cream bronzer, I love this for this. And it is a huge brush. This is a Marc Jacobs bronzing brush, a very well made brush. There's some weight to the handle. It's definitely not a cheap brush by any stretch of the imagination. I don't use this every day because I hardly ever bronze. In the summer, I will use my cream bronzer just in certain areas, but pretty much now, since I've been so into skincare, I pretty much stay this color year round. I don't fake tan because I frankly don't have the energy for that, nor do I want a different color face than the rest of my body. But if you would like to indulge, this is an excellent made brush, and it is very nice. Otherwise, I would just use one of the powder brushes I discussed. That way, if you are on a budget, you don't have to have a million brushes. Let's talk about eyelid primer. When I put my primer on, I really like to blend it in, and I have two brushes for that I really enjoy. This one was part of that It Cosmetics gift set I got, with this brush in there, and I just use this to blend it out. I use this every single time I do my makeup. Now, these are some of the only brushes I like from Sigma. Their P series, that stands for Precision. This is the P86, and this brush is excellent, the tapered one, for cream shadows too, and even blending out whatever I put on my lid that's a cream product. So I would highly recommend this brush too. And it's well made. I've never had any hair shed out of it. It's never given me a problem. Now, if you were to spot conceal, I got this for free, and I think if you ever make a Sigma purchase, you get an EO5 brush. I like this brush because it's so tiny and it's synthetic that I can pick up my concealer, or I like to use my Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer, that I just can touch this to the spots I want, picking up very small amount of product, and then blend it in with something like your e.l.f. or your Pro Conceal by Sephora. Eyebrow brushes. This only comes in a set by the Goss. I can't do my eyebrows without these brushes anymore. I adore this. I love all three. I didn't think I would, but the spoolie is amazing. This brush is so dense right here. It just does an excellent job of blending in your brow pomades and products. And then this is just amazing for product. It works with pomades too, but I find I adore this one. This is a Shiki-Hodo GSN 13. Such a precision brush, especially for pomades. You can use this for powders too, but the natural hair in this actually is so fine to a point. It works excellent with pomades without putting down too much product. It's almost just like a pen that you're drawing on, then you can go in and blend. So these 4 brushes seems like a lot just for 2 little spots on your face, right? But I love these. Now let's talk about Tightline. This brush is super inexpensive. It's the Japanese silicone tipped brush. It's not even a hair brush at all. It's just a silicone tipped brush. I use this to tightline my waterline up top, and I don't have to tug on my eye. I swirl it around in a little gel eyeliner and I look up like that, open my eyes big, and it works perfect. Very inexpensive. I love this brush. Now here's where it's going to come to preference. I'm going to show you 4 amazing brushes, and it depends on what your preference for putting winged liner on is. Now I love, this is the Hakihodo Pro Series 3/0 PH. The P stands for Pro and the H stands for Hard. This brush is a synthetic polyester brush, and it's so fine. It's amazing for lining and getting up and doing that perfect little flick. Now, if you like to rest your hand on your face and you like to be able to see more what you're doing, I would recommend a bent brush. And I have many of these, and I do have to say the Tarte one that came with the Tartiest liner is my favorite. Then 2 angled brushes. It depends on how deep you want the angle and how big you like your wing. This is the MAC 266 brush. I actually use this for eyeshadows because I don't like this big of a slant when I'm doing my cat, but I know some would. And then this one is actually another Sigma brush that I do enjoy. This is the Sigma E65. This is a really fine point here, and I do find it works well if I want to do that wing. But typically these are the 2 brushes that I'll use the most for that. I use this one and this one. I know this looks like a lot of brushes right here, but there's not one eye look that I cannot do with these, and I simply love them. They're not even, like, if you see behind me, I have a lot of brushes. These brushes I can do anything with. I feel like you can only be as good at eyeshadow as your tools. I really feel like you can make some products that suck actually work if you have the proper tools to apply them. For the years and years, I really discounted how important the proper tools were, and I wasn't understanding why I wasn't getting that blown out look, that smoked out look, thinking that I wasn't really good at applying makeup. And you know, some may argue still that I'm not. That's fine. But brushes will make all the difference. So let's start with transition. This is the Hakihodo J5522. We've talked about I mean, these are dirty because I just used them on my eye makeup look today. But this brush is white goat hair. It has some structure to it, and it's stiff. I love this. I use this every single day for putting on my transition color. Hakihodo makes some of the best brushes in the world, and these are not, this specific series is not ridiculously priced. If you compare it to a lot of MAC brushes, it's on par with cost, but you can't even put them in the same ballpark for quality. None of these brushes are machined. Your hair is not gonna fall out of here. When you order online, they do ship now out of LA too, of Hakihodo. Amazing brushes. It is rumored that Wayne Goss has his brushes made by Hakihodo, which I love. His brushes are actually, some of them are more affordable than the Hakihodo. I love this brush. I think every single person get this brush. Next, when I'm going down more into the crease and a little above, especially with hooded eyes, I love this brush. This is the Hakihodo J5533 brush. It's different because this is flat. It's not tapered like the MAC 224 or some other brushes like this. This gives you a lot of contact with the hair, so it does a really good job of blending this. I cannot live without this brush either. I adore it. Everybody needs this brush too. Now, more detailed crease work. This is equivalent shape-wise of the MAC 217. Again, leaps and bounds above their quality. This is the Hakihodo J5523 brush. This fits perfectly in your crease to diffuse and do that work that you need more of a white structured goat hair brush to do. This is amazing. Now, for those of us with hooded eyes, if you want to do a cut crease, and even if you don't have hooded eyes, this brush will be a game changer for you. And you would think, it doesn't look that fancy. This is the Shikihodo T7. Now, how I do a cut crease, and I'll show you guys in the video that you guys requested, is I touch this in the eyeshadow on one side. Then I flip that side that it's touching towards the up, and I put that in my crease, and I just drag it along and blend, and that will put the shadow up there this brush is really amazing for that. I love this brush. I want to talk about two more brushes that are really soft quality, and what I use for these more is when I want to blend out and diffuse the product, but in a very gentle way. Like the White Goat is like a workhorse. It's gonna get in there and really move that shadow around. Sometimes you want something a little more soft, so like right here on the top of my eyeshadow, say I thought, you know, I really need to blend that through. I can go softly over with this brush and really just wiggle it back and forth until I get that desired effect, opposed to something like this. It's really holding on to that product. It maybe puts too much down or disturbs the rest of the shadow too much. This is the Wayne Goss number 3 brush, and for a smaller one that's much like this shape of the J5523 brush, this one is thinner and softer. So if I put something up in my crease, and you can see my look I used today, I go over with this brush and really lightly diffuse that, and I love this brush for that. For my brow bone highlight, I love this brush. This is a Shikihado GSN 7. It looks like a gigantic brush, and it is, but when you touch it in your highlight, you literally, all you have to do is trace your eyebrow, and this brush, since it's so big, it actually blends whatever your transition is up there with it too. It's just an excellent brush. I really like this. You probably heard me say I really like this like 1,000 times. Inner corner highlight. Out of all these really expensive brushes that I have, I love this Real Techniques shading brush. It fits perfectly in the corner pocket of my eye here, and that's all I strictly use this brush for. I enjoy it. I think everybody needs a good flat shader synthetic brush to pick up pigments, glitter, anything like that. I love this MAC 242. It's what I use for pigments on my lid today. I think everyone could benefit from a brush like this. Now my last 3 brushes for eyes are all a very similar shape. It's just kind of like a small, medium, large. This is my Shikihado Z10 brush. I adore this brush, especially for hooded eyes. It fits perfectly in your crease and lets you do some detail work. I also used it today on the inner corner and outer corner of my eye. Super soft. It's good at your lower lash line if you want to. I can't live without this. And then 2 more Wayne Goss brushes, the number 5 and the number 20. The number 5, this is the new brush that he updated from the old one. It's really fine precision, and for me and my eyes, if I want a really tight, if I want really smoked out but like tight to my lash line, I'll use this. Like today I wanted the smokier to come down further, so I used the 20 brush, which is larger than the 5 but the exact same shape. This one has just a little bit more of a point. Now this also works excellent, the 20, when I'm doing a cut crease too and I'm going in with those darker colors. I'll put it right on the tip of this brush and just trace where I want it, and it's just such a controlled application. All of these brushes are extraordinarily soft. They're not going to fall apart. They're not going to shed on you. When you put these brushes, I think a lot of times there's a misconception of thinking that these nicer brushes are way out of anybody's league. Again, think about it this way. This is a collection. This is not something that you're just going to use once, you need it by this deadline, and you're never going to use again. I would rather get a brush at a time. I did not amass this collection at once. I bought them in pieces. Same thing with the Wayne Goss brushes, until I finally found a set that I don't feel like I'm lacking anything anymore. I don't ever use a brush and pick it up and think, oh, that didn't do. Every time I pick these brushes up, it's a joy to use them. I never think, oh, this didn't do what I wanted it to. So I hope that was helpful. I tried to go faster because I know I'm long-winded, like, you don't need to tell me, I know. So that's pretty much it, guys. I feel like all these brushes that I mentioned and the ones that are on the side here, I can do an entire full face of makeup and it's enjoyable. I don't feel like I'm picking hairs off my face. They perform really well. I will link my video below of how I clean brushes. So if you want me to do a brush cleaning video on how I clean my luxury, like nicer quality brushes, I will do that for you guys. Again though, you can find that. There's a marker in the description box of my Wayne Goss video that you can jump to see. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys, and I will see you next time.